Hello, good afternoon. I'm here to talk about what I know about the basics of action research. So the outline of my presentation is as follows. First, what is action research? Second, why do action research? Third, how to do action research. And four, how to write an action research. So let's start with the definition of an action research. Action research is a process of systematic and reflective inquiry to improve educational practices or resolve problems in the classroom or the school. So why do we do action research? We do it because we want to improve our educational practices. We want to help our students learn better, and we want to resolve the problems that we have in our schools, not just those related to pedagogy, but other problems as well. And how do we do action research? It is systematic. It's kind of like a scientific method. And the goal is to become more organized with how we solve problems and eventually publish it or share it to the public so that others can see our work and we can share our own um, the way we do things to others, and everyone will become better. I guess that is the principle. Actually, as teachers, doing action research is natural part of what we do. We are constantly looking for innovations to improve the way we teach. We are constantly observing our students, collecting data, and changing practices to improve student learning, the classroom, and the school environment. But by doing action research, we now have a framework that guides our energy so that we can better understand why, when, and how students become better learners, and how we can become better facilitators of learning. So it's not a library project. Action research is not just problem solving, not just learning why we do things, and it's not doing research on people. Rather, it is about a quest for knowledge about how to improve. It involves teachers or administrators working to improve our skills, techniques, and strategies. It is about how we can do things better and how we can change our instruction to impact our students. So what is the difference between traditional research and action research? Basically, there are several differences, and I'll focus on the following. With regards to training, in order to properly do traditional research, you need extensive training. In fact, when you do your PhD or master's, that's a major part of your degree is to learn how to do traditional research, understand its parts. However, all you really need to do action research are the basic skills. So the training is not that extensive. The goal of traditional research is to come up with generalized knowledge. But for action research, your goal, you have a small setting, which is your classroom or your school, and you do action research so that you can apply what you discover to your own school or to your own classroom. So local lang. With regards to identifying a problem, usually in traditional research, you read and read and read and figure out what others have already done, and you need to look for the research gap so that you can contribute to the body of knowledge. However, for action research, the problem is found within the work that you do. You observe what works and what doesn't in your class or in the school, and you try to solve that problem. It's very practical. For literature review, traditional research relies on extensive literature to support its claims, because really the goal of traditional research is to have generalized knowledge. That means you need to read a lot and to really try to figure out what others have already done so that you can contribute to um, contribute generalized knowledge for a lot of people. But all you really need to do action research is general understanding. So guess this means that you don't have to cite as many um, uh, studies as possible. And for sampling approach, for traditional research, you need to you need a population sample, which means that you have to randomize sometimes who your respondents are. But for action research, your respondents are your students or the teachers or any person who is involved in your action research, including the implementers if there are more than one. So what are the three types of action research? We can see here that action research can be individual, collaborative, or school-wide or district-wide. For individual research, it usually focuses on a single issue in the classroom. The teacher may be seeking solutions to problems of classroom management, instructional strategies, use of materials, or student learning. Even if you're alone though, you need the help of other people so that you can properly do this action research. For collaborative, it may include as few as two teachers or a group of several teachers and others who are interested in addressing a classroom or a department issue. This issue may involve one classroom or it may be a common problem shared by many classrooms. School-wide or district-wide focuses on issues which are common to all. For example, a school may have a concern about the lack of parental involvement in activities. So the school may be looking for ways to reach out to more parents to involve them in more meaningful ways. Or the school may address organizational or decision-making structures. So why do we need to do action research? So there are many reasons, but actually as a part of the research university, we need to publish. MSU IIT is aiming to become a premier research university. So it is our role as well to do research. Anyway, if we do action research or research in general, uh, it's a form of professional development. It allows us to grow and gain confidence in our work. It influences the way we think. It helps us to become more willing to share and communicate. And we have a different, more positive attitude towards the process of change. And also action research, it allows us, if we do collaborative action research, to take time to talk with other teachers about teaching and teaching strategies. We can share our thoughts with others and we can examine various instructional strategies, learning activities, and curricular materials. As a consequence, we can develop stronger relationships with each other and we can increase collaboration among departments. So there is indeed an impact to school change. There are criticisms that action research has a limited scope, it's only within your classroom. But in reality, if everyone does action research, the impact can be really great because what you do here can be read by others in other districts, other schools. They can implement what you did, and actually, I mean, the benefits will just escalate in the long run. So it's not fair. It's not fair to say that action research is inferior to traditional research because it has been shown over the years that it does have a major impact. It has a bottom to top influence on teachers are empowered in the sense that we are now influencing how it should be done for everybody. It's not like the decisions come from the top to the bottom. So I hope you understand what I meant. And reflection. So opportunity for teachers to evaluate themselves when we do action research helps teachers really take a look at our own teaching in a structured manner. So those are just a few of the reasons why we need to do action research. The next question is, how do we do it? Well, so this is a simple way of doing it. You identify a problem, you think of a solution to that problem, you do it, you evaluate it, and you modify for future practices. Now, you really need to identify a problem. And the thing about this pandemic is we're all experimenting. This is an emergency situation. This is all new to us, teaching in the new normal. So there are lots of opportunities for research. So you need to answer this question. What do you observe as a puzzle or problem area in your remote learning class? And I'm pretty sure you have lots of answers. Just looking at this right now, I can think of a few. And once you have identified the certain puzzle or problem area you wish to focus on, then you can proceed to do action research. There are many sources. For example, uh, from the difficulty that you are having, you can come up with a problem. From hearing about promising practices, like there is some technique or teaching technique you'd like to try, which has been done elsewhere, that can be a proactive way of coming up with a problem. You can seek clarity on an unclear issue. So there are many sources of problems. So the first thing you need to do is, again, what elements of your practice or what aspect of student learning do you wish to investigate? So you identified many problems. Now you have to choose one problem. The next step is to reflect. What is the current understanding of the problem? This is can be very daunting because this entails that you have to read the research regarding the problem you have chosen. Go to online journals like you go to scholar.google.com, or our very own My IIT provides access to some of these journals for free. You have to read one paper a day and then summarize what you learned. So it is a habit. Action research is easy if you turn it into a habit. You need to do it daily, slowly, but surely. And then you figure out what your focus question is. Right? You have to read, and read so that you have a better understanding of your problem. And it's not as well limited to reading, but you also really need to do other things. To really understand what the problem is. Maybe you can interview students or teachers. You need to have a great understanding of what the problem is, because by doing that, you now have a very solid foundation on what action you need to take, which is number 3, the action plan. So you have to come up with an intervention in order to solve the problem. In DepEd, they really like it when teachers come up with a unique intervention, and especially if that intervention is turned into an acronym, they really like it. But you can read again from the journals you have read, you figure out what they have done. Maybe you can combine different types of intervention. You can come up with your own. But if you do come up with your own, make sure that it is based on theory and there is a strong basis for why you think that might work, your plan. Number 4 is to implement your plan. So how do you intend to document your actions? How will you gather data? So these are very important questions. Now you have to come up with the methodology in research terminology. And there are many ways to gather data. I think for action research, qualitative data is very popular, because I feel some teachers feel that quantitative data is limited, but it is still important because quantitative data actually supports your qualitative results. So this is step 1 to 3 are things that you may have done in the past, but this step 4 is actually the key difference between not doing action research and doing action research. Because now, in doing action research, the only difference is that in the past, di mo ginasulat ang sa imong mga plans. But now, since we are planning to do action research, we now have to think about writing our findings, having a plan, and actually writing it so it can be shared to the public in the future. One strategy is to come up with a daily journal. So these are some of the questions you can ask yourself. In that journal, in a scale of 1 to 10, how do I rate my class today? What did I do right today? What worked? What did I do wrong today? What did not work? What will I do to improve my class? So you have to have a notebook, a daily journal to evaluate your class. And then maybe that's you can come up with a very important qualitative data which you can use again for your action research. Then you can evaluate your data, and you're on your way to having a paper. So the next is how to write an action research, but since my time is limited, I am not going to um, go over all the parts of an action research, but I am just going to focus on writing the title. So first is you have to choose an action research topic, and your action research topic should be within your scope of authority. So it should be your authority in terms of your leadership, your teaching, or your learning. It should be a matter that you are passionate about and you are concerned about, and it should lead to the improvement of school's teaching and learning. So once you have, here are some examples of some topics. As you can see, if you read through all of these topics, they are focused on the problem and the possible intervention for a problem. For example, the third one, using music to stimulate creative writing. So the problem there is that students are not good at creative writing. So the teacher or the researchers think maybe our intervention that we can use is to use music. And once you have a topic, you should now come up with a working title. So a good working title should predict the content of the research paper. Isa lang kabasa sa title, you already know what the research paper is about. It should be interesting to the reader. And one way that it is interesting is if it addresses a certain issue that's going on, especially now at the new normal, right? We are experiencing a lot of challenges. So people are looking for solutions to these problems. Should reflect the tone of the writing. But what I mean by this is that research is technical, so you have to use formal language. It should be direct to the point. It must be clear and based on facts. It should also contain important keywords that will make it easier to be located during a keyword search. And yes. Here are the steps in coming up with a working title. And I call it a working title, by the way, it's because it might change after you learn more about your topic. So that title is not yet final. But first is to come up with a working title, you have to identify your specific problem, determine the main objective of your study, and come up with an intervention or a specific solution to solve the problem. Once you have all three, if you combine that, then you already have a problem. I mean, you already have a working title. So here are sample action research titles, which I got from a DepEd website. Now, if you look at the first title, mo niya akong giingon nga na acronym. So this is Project Radio. I think this study is about using radio as a way of teaching remotely. This was done here. This is a study here in Iligan City, actually. And now let's look at the impact of communicative language teaching strategies in solving English oral communication learning deficiency. If you look at that title, it does identify the specific problem, which I guess in this case is the oral communication learning deficiency. And the main objective is solving this problem, and the intervention is these communicative language teaching strategies. The same can be said with the third title. I think the specific problem mentioned here is extreme absenteeism of grade 11 TVL learners. The main objective is to combat this extreme absenteeism, and the solution is this STAR technique, strategic task-based affirmative reinforcements. If I remember in this study, the teacher gave a star every week to students who did not have any absent during that week. And it was very effective study. This won an award, regional award, because of this, lots of students mentioned for the first time in their lives they were not absent. They didn't have any absence. These are some other titles you can read. And that's it. That's the end of my talk. I hope today we can come up with our own working titles, and maybe in the future we can talk about how we can write the remaining parts of our action research. Thank you very much for listening, and good day.